stories. Try not to get too far off track, but I just want to tell you how I got in this business and why I got in this business. So in 1976, late in the year, I was managing a McDonald's restaurant. Felt pretty good there. I liked my job, liked my crew, liked everything. And I got home from work one night and I got a phone call. And this gentleman said, you know, I'd like to come and talk to you about your financial future and your financial planning and how you can save and invest and, you know what a salesman tells you. And I very politely said, well, you know, I really don't have any means. I had been married, divorced, had 2 kids, was remarried, had a 3rd one on the way, and I was getting by. That's the key. And I said, I don't really have any money to invest, and I think it'd be a waste of your time. And then he said these words that put a dagger in my heart. Your pastor told me to call. Well, what are you going to do with that? So I invited him into our home. We had a conversation of about an hour and a half, and when he left, he had literally turned my life around and showed me ways that me of meager means, how I could save and invest for my financial future. And when he left, I said to my wife, April, I can do this for other people. I believe that this is a direct narrative guidance from God that I can help not only non-believers but believers alike get out of the rut that they're in and help them have a secure financial future. My goal is not to make anybody wealthy. My goal is to make you financially independent so that you can get on with the things that are really, really important, and that is helping other people. So that's what this class is going to be all about. And 49 years later, we're still at it. So there's a sign-in sheet that Ty passed around. Did everybody get a chance to sign the sign-in sheet? If you didn't, raise your hand. He'll come around.
Is anyone else missing a workbook either?
And a workbook.
Anyone outside of you?
And a notepad.
Nope. Okay.
This sign-in sheet is required by our regulatory arm. We have to have the names of everybody who attends these meetings that goes to our regulatory arm. So I don't know what they do with it, but it does not go out on the internet. Your information is secure, and that's why we only want your first and last name. So Ty's handed out the workbooks, the notepads, the pads, and the business cards. So what is this class all about? It's about life financial planning for right now, for you younger, and for midlife, for you who are there with kids and all that, and then for later on for retirees. This is normally, as I said last week, a 6-week class. It normally was 2 hours a night, 1 night a week for 6 weeks. We're going to do it in 3 nights, 1 hour a night. We're going to have 6 topics that we're going to go over. The first 2 we're going to cover tonight are protecting what you have, boring, take control of your cash flow, boring, and then next week we'll get into some good stuff. So hang on, here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about, and Ty, you can go to the first slide. Oh, get that guy off there. First thing I want to talk about tonight is protecting what you have. For the younger people in the crowd, you know that you can stay on your parents' health insurance plan until you're age 26. And then you'll have to find alternative health insurance, either through your employer or through the Obamacare plan. So but I want to focus in a little bit about life insurance. Some of you will need it, some of you won't, but it depends on how you use it, how long you keep it, the cost of it, and that type of thing. I want to talk about that for a little while tonight because it's really, really important. And I know that everybody says, oh, life insurance, I hate it. Life insurance is like car insurance. It's like house insurance. It's something that you purchase that you hope that you'll never have to use, okay? If your house doesn't burn down, you paid those premiums all these years, you don't get a refund, but you have the security of knowing that your property was covered. If you don't have a car accident, which most of us will, you know, that someone else is gonna pay that off, because what you're doing is you're transferring the financial responsibility from yourself to another payee. And that's what life insurance does. It transfers the financial responsibility of a death in your situation to another payee. You may think that life insurance is only really for the wage earner in the home. That is not true. The non-working or second employed spouse is extremely valuable. What happens if something happens to you? Well, you have childcare, you have a mortgage, you have college funding, you have retirement planning, and so on. All those expenses still remain even though you're gone, and it is up to the person who's passed away to help support that family during the rest of their lifetime. The cost of a parent staying home with one child to raise a year is about $74,000 in the state of Michigan. That's a lot of money. And if you have 2 children, the cost doesn't double, but it almost does per year to for a stay-at-home person, and that's a child I'm sorry, that's to raise a child in Michigan in 1 year. The average care in Lansing for a child care in a center is $300 to $400 per week. So these expenses add up in a hurry. If your child is taken care of in a home, it can be from $200 to $250 a week. Now, for those of you who are both working, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Those are expensive costs, and a lot of times people, the second employed, really only makes enough money to pay for child care and incidentals. So it's a really expensive thing. There are 2 kinds of life insurance out there. Basic life insurance. One is term insurance, and one is whole life insurance. I want to explain to you a little bit about the difference between the two. If you purchase a whole life insurance plan, the premiums are generally double to triple what they would cost for term insurance. You give the insurance company money for a monthly premium, and you buy a life insurance policy. Let's say that life insurance policy is $50,000, the death benefit. During the years that you're paying the premium, it accumulates inside the policy. It's called a cash value. That cash value builds up, and over time it builds up. Let's say it builds up to $25,000. You can borrow that cash value if you wanted to maybe buy a first home or do something with it that you need money for. The interesting thing is that is supposed to be your money, except the insurance company charges you interest, maybe up to 8% per year, to borrow your own money. That should be a red flag. Okay? When you die and you have $25,000 in that policy, the insurance company still only pays $50,000. So who paid the first $25,000? You did with your own money. So one of the things that this man who came to my house told me, I had a whole life insurance policy. I was paying about $125 a month, and I was 31, 32 years old. And he said, you know, if you bought term insurance for like $50 a month and invested the difference between that and $125 a month, that's $75 a month you could be putting in a savings account. We can give you a couple $100,000 of death benefit for the same $50 a month. And if you died in 10 years, you get not only the $100,000 a month benefit, but you also get all the cash that you've invested. I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's what put me on the road to where I'm at today. So the difference between term insurance and whole life insurance is that very, very simple. With whole life insurance, you are giving the insurance company your money. It's theirs, even though you think it's yours, and that cash value, if you take it out, can be a very expensive deal. And when you die, whatever that cash value of that policy is, does not go to you. It goes to the insurance company to pay part of the claim that your family's going to submit. Where with term insurance, it's just like car insurance, it's just like house insurance. you pay the premium for as long as you want to hold the policy, and when you pass away, a benefit is paid out of the full face value of the policy. And then at some point, when you become self-insured at an older age, you throw it away, just like you would if you sell your car and don't drive it anymore. You throw it away. So it's one of those necessary expenses that all, especially all you younger people in the room, should be thinking about, because your life has value, and it has tremendous value to your family, and you really need to think about insuring that. 2 issues about insurance, and this goes to health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, all the insurances. There are 2 issues. The first one is age. The older you get, the more expensive it gets. Because the older you get, the insurance is sold on what's called a mortality table. The closer you get to the end of the mortality table, the greater risk is to the insurance company, and they're going to charge you for that. And health. So my advice to you is go high while you're young, get an amount that is appropriate, but go high. Because who knows 5 years down the road what's going to happen to you health-wise. Just look at your parents. Look at friends that you know who are incapacitated or have health issues that need the insurance but can't get it because of their health. So age and health are 2 huge issues. So I'm going to give you some quotes here for insurance, and these are for a healthy, 25-year-old male in a term life insurance policy for a 20-year period. So you buy it now, the premium remains level for 20 years, it does not increase. And for $245 a year with a very highly rated insurance company will get you covered for 20 years for $500,000. Now, that will fit most young person's budgets, okay? Now, if you're not married, you may not need that much, but if you are married, you may need more. So all that gets figured out later on down the road. If you're a 35-year-old male, it goes to $294 a month. So not much of an increase there. Again, a 20-year policy, so that takes you from 45 to 65. If you wait until you're 45 to jump into the insurance market, now it's $629 a year. So you can see that the older you get, the more it costs. So get it while you're young, get the most you can get, and keep that policy going. I want to talk about who gets the money. Money usually from an insurance policy will go to the beneficiary of the policy, a spouse generally, or a family member, will go to them tax-free. So life insurance benefits are tax-free to the person who receives the benefit upon your death. That's pretty important, because if you're going to hand somebody $500,000 at your death, you really would like them to avoid taxes if they can, and life insurance is a nice way to pass that benefit on to a surviving to the survivors for tax-free. If the benefit goes to an adult, that's a good thing. Okay, you pass away, your spouse gets the benefit. That's a good thing. Or an adult child, that's a good thing. If it goes to a minor child, that can cause problems. Let's say that you die and you leave your 2 children a $500,000 life insurance policy, you get split $250,000. Now the probate court is going to get involved because it's a minor and they are not allowed to invest the money. We had a case right here in Eaton County where the minors I wasn't involved in this until afterward, but the Eaton County got involved. The probate court said, no, you cannot invest this money. It went to a bank in Charlotte, and it went into a money market, earning 0.5% interest. Now, these kids were like 10 and 12. So just think about that. That money's sitting there for 6 or 8 years, not earning enough money to even combat the effects of taxes and inflation over that 6-year period. So you may need to, if you're gonna leave money to your children of a life insurance policy, you may need to put that in a trust. Make the beneficiary the trust. That way the trust owns the money. The trustee of the trust, who is someone that you would put in charge, they get to determine how that money gets invested, and it keeps the probate court out of the picture. Very, very important estate planning thing that you can do there to help your children. Other reasons that you would put it in a trust, or the beneficiary of a trust, is maybe you got $1 million policy and you want your surviving spouse to get $500,000, and your kids to get some money, and you want your church to get some money, and some nonprofit organizations that we support this church to get the money. You do that through a trust. The trust will direct the executor of the trust to dole out these amounts of money that you determine to the beneficiary that you would like them to receive. So we're going to get into estate planning a little bit later. We're not going to dive too deeply into. I'm not an attorney, but I never claimed to be one, never wanted to be one. But we're going to touch a little bit on those kinds of things later on. But for life insurance, just make sure that those beneficiaries are the people that you want to get the money. I had a very interesting case here. Oh, this is, I don't know, probably 15 years ago now. I had a client who passed away. I'm at the viewing, and the wife is here, and the ex-wife is here, and I'm kind of in the middle, and the ex-wife had just found out that she was the beneficiary of the life insurance policy, and the new wife was not. The new wife would have killed him if he wasn't already dead. So it is just extremely important. Get those things out and look at them. If you've got a trust agreement that's, I don't know, 6 or 8 years old, get it out, read it. My wife and I did all of our trust agreements and all that last year with the attorney that we work with. And I'm a financial advisor. We left money to places that weren't even in existence anymore. I mean, get that thing out and review it and get it up to date. It is a tremendous investment, and the beneficiaries will thank you. We do work with an estate planning attorney. His name is David Williams with Bossabrook Williams. There is nothing going back and forth if we refer business to him or he refers it to us. There's no financial obligation there or anything. But David is a Christian. He is a very, very good attorney. We have his business cards at my office. If you want one, let us know. Great guy, just a great guy. He talks at our level. He doesn't talk above our heads. And then for you seniors who are thinking about elder care, how do we protect our assets from the federal government legally? We have an estate planning attorney. His name is Howard Jack Wares, and his family practice is Family and Elder Care Law of Michigan. Again, we've worked with him with several of our clients who are moving into long-term care facilities and don't want the government to get all their money and so on and so forth. So we do have resources for you in that event that we can refer you to take care of what is coming on. Even though you're only 30, it's coming on like a freight train. You'll turn around one day and you'll be like me. You'll say, how did we get here? So things that really, really, really need to be taken care of in a timely manner. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is group term insurance. Group term insurance. Your employer, most employers offer a group term insurance plan. And if it is offered, you definitely should sign up for it. It's usually cheap. because they put everybody in one basket. Because they put everybody in one, we really strongly advise that you sign up for group term insurance. The pitfall of group term insurance is that it is not portable. If you leave your employer, you usually almost always cannot take it with you. So that's why you need that life insurance policy that you own and you control, and then you supplement that with the group term policy, okay? So if that's available, take advantage of it. According to current data, how many Gen Zers do we have in the room? Oh, yeah, we got a couple, all right. Gen Zers stay in their current job 1.1 to 2.4 years. How about that? How many of you have been with your current employer for 10 years? 15 years? Yeah. I've been with mine for 49, so. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because if you've got group term insurance, it's not portable. So don't rely on that to be able to be taken with you. And there's another reason. I'm going to get off track here just a little bit, but my son Joe, who's a financial advisor in our firm, had a nonprofit employee in his 40s. This nonprofit employee had 8 403B plans. That's 8 retirement plans with 8 different employers. And he came to us for help. And it took, well, we haven't gotten the last one yet, but it's taken almost a year to find those because Gen Zers aren't really tuned into their money, okay? And the next level above Gen Zers are. So these people change jobs all the time. They have a 403B there, they have $5,000 in it. They go to the next job, they forget it's there. So we spent a year trying to find all these 401ks, 403Bs, and then move them. But the total was $90,000. That this person didn't even know where the money was. So pay attention, and if you leave an employer, make sure you bring that with you or roll it into an IRA to bring that with you. Now, I want to go over on page 5 of your workbook. This begins the dreaded homework. This is a life insurance worksheet. It's your dependent's annual income, annual living costs, and this shows an example of $70,000. And then from that, you add in your spouse's income, investment income, Social Security, pension, other income. Other income might be a Social Security benefit that your spouse would be entitled to if you have younger children, those kinds of things. And then you come up with the total income available, and here it says that living spouse will have $42,000 of value of income. And then you deduct what your family would need, and it comes to $28,000 to supplement that income for 1 year. The rate of return that you might expect on an investment portfolio, they use 7% here. You could go higher than that, but 7% is a good number. And it would say that you need $400,000 worth of life insurance to fill that gap. So it's just kind of a guide. Now, we offer these services at our company, and you're going to have the opportunity to do that later on. That'll be up to you to decide whether you want to take advantage of that or not. But we can help you determine how much life insurance would be appropriate for you individually to take care of your family should something happen to you. Other insurances. Social Security Administration estimates that 1 in 4 20-year-olds will face a long-term disability before reaching age 65. That's a big number. 1 in 4. Disability insurance may be able to be purchased through your employer. Again, if it is offered, we strongly encourage you to sign up for it. Again, it is not portable, so you can't take it with you when you leave. So you probably should explore long-term disability outside of your employer plan. We have experienced it on both ways, where people have had long-term disability with their employer, not had it outside, left the employer, got disabled, and it is just not a very pretty picture. And then we've also experienced it where they've had both, still not a pretty picture, but financially that family is okay. Long-term care insurance, I'm talking to you old folks. We're all headed there at some point probably. Long-term care insurance is a necessity to look into. If you're in your 50s, it's affordable. If you're in 60s, it's more expensive. And if you're in your 70s, forget it. Because again, it is priced on how close you are going to need it. And at 70, there's a pretty good chance it's in your future somewhere. So long-term care insurance pays for a care in a facility if you can't do 3 of the 5 daily routines of living: bathing, eating, toileting, taking your medications, or dressing. Those are the 5 criteria. It takes a doctor to say that you qualify, but then if you're admitted to a long facility, a nursing home, or even respite care, long-term care insurance can step in and help offset the cost of those facilities. I have a client who entered a long-term care facility Monday of this week in Grand Rapids. The normal cost would be $6,000 a month. Ouch. And because he needs special needs, it's going to be $8,100 a month. And I'll tell you what, that'll chew into your savings in a hurry. So long-term care insurance is important. Look at it again early. Michigan kind of got out of control with their premiums and didn't really have their arms around the industry, and allowed the long-term care companies to increase rates at a pretty hefty rate. Kind of gotten a collar on that now. So there is more control over the rate increases. But long-term care is extremely important for us who are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, because it can devastate a family. Especially if you're younger and enter a facility, it can devastate your family that still has to go on once you're gone. It can be combined now with a life insurance policy. So there are ways to fit a long-term care policy inside a life insurance policy. These are kind of new products, and that can be a way for you to accomplish 2 things at once. So again, these are all kinds of things that we look at to try to help you with if you need it. Wills, trust, and estate planning. Why is it so important when you're not, when you're older, but younger as well? I have a story to tell you. I have a client, his name is Larry. Love Larry. GM employee for 42 years. By the way, I taught financial planning classes at GM for 14 years. What a hoot. Hourly and salaried employees in the same classroom. We had a lot of fun. Larry worked at GM for 42 years. And he and his wife, Kat, Larry was a saver. He was a saver. When the PSP, Personal Savings Program, came out, he started funding it immediately. And by March of every year, he had his 401k plan fully funded for the year. This guy was a saver. He said, well, I can live on 10%. I'll fund my 401k at 90. So Larry and Kathy pulled into their driveway one day, And Larry said, I'm gonna get out and get the mail. He got out, they got coming home from getting groceries. He got out, walked out, got the mail, came back to the car. Kathy was still in the car, and he said, why aren't you out of the car? And she looked at him, looked back, and died. She had been driving. 2 minutes earlier, they had been on the road. And she died right there in the car. So his son came up from the Carolinas, he and his family, for the funeral. And I knew that the family was estranged, but I never knew why. So the story is that Jeff was Kathy's son. Larry had adopted him. So I thought, oh, well, okay, I got this figured out. Not so much. So I went to the viewing of Kathy. A couple weeks later, Jeff brings Larry into my office to talk. And during this whole thing, a few years before, Kathy had said one time when they came in, take Jeff off from all of our stuff. We don't want him to be our beneficiary, okay? The we don't want him to be the beneficiary was, I don't want him to be the beneficiary. So they come in, Larry is in a hospital gown. And I said, what happened? And he said, well, Jeff told, Larry got up to use the bathroom. I said, what happened to your family? He said, well, years ago we came, I brought my family up to the house, came to visit my parents, and I went in the house and I said, Mom, you can't live this way anymore. There is no place for my family to stay in this 3-bedroom house. Dad sleeps in a lazy boy in the living room because there's no room in the bedroom. You getting the picture? Mom was a hoarder. And there was a literal pathway through the house. The mother got so angry at Jeff that she kicked him out and said, I never want to see you again. Sad, sad story. So, getting back to Kathy dying, the paramedics come and they go in the house and they tell the husband, Larry, you can't go back in there. It is not inhabitable. We're taking you to the hospital because you need medical care. Now fast forward 2 weeks, they're in my hospital. Larry's in a hospital gown. So I get the backstory to what happened. So Larry comes back into my office and he said, I said, Larry, what do you want me to tell Jeff about what you have with us? And Larry said, tell him everything. And I said, well, Jeff, I'm glad you're sitting down because your dad has amassed an estate of $2,900,000 and you're the only, there is no beneficiary on the account. So this will go through probate and it'll be a long and lengthy process. The attorneys will get 10%, the probate court will get 10%, and eventually, 2 or 3 years down the road, you might get what's left. And so I said to Larry, who do you want me to name as the beneficiary? He said, give Jeff everything. So the rift wasn't between the stepdad and the stepson, or the adopted dad and the adopted son. It was between the mom and the son. Shocked me. Absolutely shocked me. That's the importance of getting beneficiaries right on all of your information, on all of your accounts. Check those beneficiaries. So we signed all the documents, got everything changed over to Jeff. 2 weeks later, Larry died. It was 3 days after all the paperwork had been approved. Do not let this happen to your family. Do not. It is a horrible mistake. So please take care of that. Where are we at here? 7:50. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. You're all so serious. Now I want to talk about taking care of your cash flow. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. I think everybody here kind of understands that you got to get a handle on the cash flow. You got to get a handle on that budget. So four dreaded words. Look at your spending. Last week, we heard that Bear is not here. I wish he was. I wanted to pick on him tonight. We heard not great. My budget's a disaster. That was Bear. And someone said not had one. And another couple said, well, they're 2/3 on the way to Warren Buffett. Good for you. Congratulations. Do you have a budget or are you living paycheck to paycheck? Now, if you're younger, I get it. I get it. It's expensive. You have kids. You have sports. You know, my kids went to Lansing Christian. I own part of that school. I paid for half of the bricks in that new school, and my kids never went there. So I get it. But you must get a grip on your budget. So here is your first homework assignment, and you're going to hate it. That little notepad, everybody hold up that little notepad. You all thought that was for taking notes at this meeting. No. I'm going to ask you for the next 30 days to track every penny you spend. That's why it's a small notebook. You can tuck it in your pocket. You can carry it with you everywhere you go. I had a GMer that did this. He did it for 30 days. Then he did it for 60 days. Then he did it for 90 days. Then he did it for a year. And came in for a review a couple of years. Was still doing it. Now he's a little obsessed. I've got to give you that. But it is important for you to know how your money is spent. You ever look at your tax form at the end of the year? You have gross income and all those deductions, then you have that line at the bottom that's the leftover. Do you ever wonder where it went? There's only one way to know. You have to track it. So I really, really strongly encourage you to take advantage of that. You will be amazed at what you find. You work in an industrial plant. You go to the vending machine every year, every lunch. You get a bag of chips and a bottle of pop, or you go to the cafe and get your meal. Those things all add up. I'm not saying I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying know what it costs. And then you can look at that budget and say, well, if I did this differently, if I did that differently, I could save a few pennies here and there. I might be able to come up with some money to invest. This is a huge problem. 20 years ago, when I was doing the GM classes, there was a study that showed 56% of all divorces were directly traced to money issues in the home. 56% of all divorces. Today, the top issues are lack of commitment, huge, infidelity, huge, and money problems, disagreement over spending, financial goals, and communication about finances. Those are the top three biggies in divorces in the home today. And we've all had those discussions, us who've been married for 50 years and those who have not. We all have those money discussions. In our home, my dad was the spender, my mom was the saver. We had a drawer in our living room. It had a bunch of envelopes, and Dad would get paid. He'd bring home his paycheck, and Mom would put money in those envelopes. And the only one I cared about was the last one in the back, and it was extra. And if there's money in that, we got to go to Gail House's restaurant in Elsie and have dinner out. That was the only one I cared about, but my mom cared deeply about all the others. I'll never forget, my dad brought home a brand new Edsel Ford. Anybody know what that is? Yeah, the old guys know what that is. He drove in the driveway, and my mom stepped out the door, saw that car, and said, because my dad was a great guy, but he was a horrible, horrible money man. He'd come home and give my mom the payment book and said, pay for this. And my mom had to figure out how to do it. Okay? She stepped out the door, saw that car, and said, take it back. And he did. So important. So let's talk a little bit about an emergency fund. The very, very first thing you need to do as a young person, or whatever your budget situation is, you need to establish an emergency fund. There's no worse thing to happen to you than to have a major repair, a washer machine breaks, or your car breaks down or something, and then you have to put it on that 18% credit card to get it fixed. You should have usually anywhere from 3 to 6 months income, living expenses, to cover anything that might come along your way that is unexpected. So 3 to 6 months income in an emergency fund. So how do you fund that? Well, you use a high yield savings account. You can use a money market account. But get that money in an account that is highly liquid but gives you a reasonable rate of return. And then you need to focus on paying down debt. Percent interest on that. And you're paying $254 a month to pay it off over 5 years. How much does that cost? The interest is $5,236 in interest payments. So the total cost to borrow that 10 grand is $15,236. That is, as they would say in our federal government, not sustainable. Now, they don't care about that because they're not spending their money. But you need to care about it because you're spending your own. And I don't want to get political here, but I do hope that President Trump gets this 10% cap on credit cards through. That would be very, very helpful to all of us who carry credit card debt. But focus on getting those credit cards knocked out. Pay off the credit card with the highest interest first. And let's say you're paying $100 a month on that one. When that one's paid off, take that extra $100 a month and pay it on the next one, and on the next one, and on the next one, so on, so that you can extinguish all that credit card debt. Credit card debt is a killer in our society. It keeps you under the thumb of the big brother. Why do you think it is that credit card companies make it so enticing? Because they want that $5,236 of interest that you're going to give them over that 5-year period. That's why they can advertise in the Super Bowl. That's why they can do all those things. That's why they can get big name actors to promote their products, because you are paying for it and you're paying a high dollar for it. Discretionary income. Let's talk a little bit about budgeting. Discretionary income, for those of you who are younger, is the amount of money that you have left over after you pay your necessary bills each month. Your fixed expenses, your rent, your mortgage, your car loans, your insurances, your utilities, childcare, taxes, any other taxes that are owed. Those are your fixed expenses, things that you must pay every month. Discretionary money is the money that's left over after that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is turn to page 18 in your workbook. And you will see here a cash flow chart. So in this cash flow chart, you'll enter in your monthly income, your wages, salary, tips, however much money you have coming in, alimony, child support, dividends, interest, stocks from mutual funds and other investments, savings accounts, Social Security benefits, pensions, or any other form of income, part-time job income, whatever it is. Enter that there. And then from there, you will enter in your expenses, mortgage, rent, so on and so forth. You can see everything there listed. If there's something on here that you're paying for that is not on the list, just cross this out and write it in, so that you can get a handle on what your fixed expenses are and then your regular monthly expenses. At the bottom, you'll add up the total monthly income, how much you're making, the total monthly expenses, how much you're spending, and you will come out with a number at the bottom that hopefully doesn't have a negative in front of it, a minus sign, that has a positive number. That negative or positive number is your discretionary income. That's the kind of money that we're gonna look for to try to help you get ahead in the future, to try to see what we can do with this budget to help you become more financially savvy and maybe do a little bit better spending on your budget. If you have a car insurance and things that are paid quarterly, break that down into a monthly number. Try to fit everything into a monthly number. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you about tonight is on page 19. Figuring out your net worth. What am I worth? Okay. So in here, you'll list things like your residence, a vacation home, things that you own on the tangible asset side. And then equity asset, retirement plan assets, stocks, mutual funds, annuities, that type of thing. And then you'll also add in your fixed principal assets, fixed interest annuities, that life insurance, cash value. If you have that whole life insurance, that cash value goes in here. Even though it's not your money and you think it is, it still goes in there because there is a way that you can pull that out and invest it for you rather than the insurance company. And then you come up with your total assets minus your liabilities on the other side, down the bottom on the right hand side there. And you'll come up with a net worth, and hopefully again you'll have a plus sign on that net worth and not a negative. Your home is your greatest asset, so you want to be sure that you protect that. So that's all I have. It is 7:28, and I'm so glad you came out. Hopefully you can come back next week and we'll talk about some fun stuff, not all this nitty gritty, I don't want to hear it stuff. Thanks for coming.